Slavery organized conspiracies in the cabinet, conspiracies in Congress, conspiracies in the states, conspiracies in the army, conspiracies in the navy, conspiracies everywhere for the overthrow of the government and the destruction of the republic.
That's what Henry Wilson, vice president under Ulysses S. Grant, once said in office, drowning and flailing under a miserable ocean of intrigue. And he was right, you know. The world is full of conspiracies, both real and imagined, especially during his time in office. America is founded on conspiracy. The idea that King George III over in England was conspiring with his people against the colonists.
The Declaration of Independence itself is essentially a laundry list of conspiracies, allegations of abuse that go on and on.
The first 12 abuses in the Declaration are of a conspiracy involving King George III, establishing a tyrannical authority in place of representative government. Abuses 13 through 22 describe the involvement of Parliament conspiring to destroy the colonists' right to self-rule.
The last 5 abuses of the Declaration refer to actions that the king took, conspiring to abandon the colonies and to wage war against them.
Though they may be true, doesn't mean they're not conspiracies after all. American history is rife with conspiracies, just littered with them. It's a garbage dump of conspiracies, both real and imagined. There was an assassination attempt on Andrew Jackson back in 1835. It was unsuccessful, of course, but conspiracy theories around it sprung up almost immediately. The guy who attempted to assassinate Jackson was a guy called Richard Lawrence. Both of Lawrence's guns misfired, and Jackson beat him back with his cane, as you do to vile fiends in the old days. Lawrence claimed to be Richard III, and that Jackson had killed his father. Though this didn't stop the truth seekers from finding out the real story. Some of Jackson's haters claim that Jackson staged the whole thing in order to gain support, and some of Jackson's supporters claim that Senator John Calhoun of South Carolina was behind it. Could it be?
I mean, just look at this guy. Of course he's guilty. He did all the conspiracies, every last one of them.
Writers would claim that Senator John Calhoun was part of the slave power, the Southern planting elite, who had it out for Jackson.
There would later be theories out there that the slave power had assassinated Presidents William Henry Harrison, Zachary Taylor, and almost killed James Buchanan. It was believed that the slave power allegedly wanted to extend slavery to the territories and free states, and to whites, destroy civil liberties, control the policies of the federal government, and complete the formation of a nationwide ruling aristocracy based on a slave economy.
And of course these conspiracies have a root in truth. The assassination of Lincoln was a product of conspiracy after all.
By simultaneously eliminating the top 3 people in the Lincoln administration, John Wilkes Booth and his co-conspirators hoped to sever the continuity of the United States government in order to revive the Confederate cause. So conspiracies do happen.
They didn't kill everyone they wanted to, and the plan didn't quite work out the way they wanted it to either. But it was a real conspiracy, and it had real implications. But if the Lincoln conspiracy was real, what else is? Anything could be. This kind of thought can lead a person down a deep, dark, dark road to a land where it's paranoid time, all the time. Fear and paranoia are pervasive in our culture. It's hardwired in our politics. Despite what some may believe, conspiracy thinking isn't something relegated to the lunatic fringe.
In a 2006 nationwide survey, 36% of the people polled said it was very or somewhat likely that U.S. leaders had either allowed 9/11 to happen or actively plotted the attacks. An ABC News poll showed that 70% of the country believed there was a conspiracy behind President Kennedy's assassination 40 years after the fact. According to a national poll taken by Public Policy Polling, 37% of Americans believe that global warming is a hoax. 21% think that the government is covering up evidence of space aliens, and 28% believe in a secret power conspiring to take over the world.
We have a conspiracy culture. It's in our founding documents. It's all over the internet. It's everywhere you look. And some people believe some really wild stuff. These are grown men and women. And what about those people who do take it a step over the edge? The people who believe the United States government carried out the 9/11 attacks. Or they believe that the government is spraying their air with chemicals, or poisoning their water with fluoride, or trying to kill them with vaccines. Why do people believe in such weird things? It's easy to say that mental illness is at the cause of this, and it's true. Some people who harbor conspiracy thoughts do have mild to full-on schizophrenia, but that's not the majority of conspiracy theorists. But what about the majority? Why do they believe in this stuff? One of the reasons is cognitive dissonance. When two ideas are held that are not in harmony, it can cause discomfort, and there's a need for an explanation. One thing you always hear from 9/11 conspiracy theorists is, "You can't tell me some guy in a cave launched the largest attack on American soil ever," and blah blah blah, or something to that degree. They couldn't accept something like that, just like many conspiracy theorists couldn't accept the lone gunman shooting JFK. There had to be something more. There had to be some conspiracy. It just doesn't feel right. So to balance it all out, conspiracy theorists have tacked on New World Orders, shadow governments, Halliburton, Cheney, all of this stuff into one big elaborate conspiracy. This is because of cognitive dissonance. Another reason why these people believe in these weird things is the tendency of the conspiracy theorist to have a kind of closed-off worldview, a monological belief system. They'll often suggest a plot by powerful organizations or people working together for some kind of sinister goal. The Illuminati, the Bilderbergs, the shadow government.
This kind of Kabbalistic thinking is often used as the default reason behind whatever event needs to be explained. The government did 9/11. The government did Sandy Hook. The government did the Boston bombing.
The government takes left socks and hides them. The government's responsible for my problems in particular. And Obama's a communist Muslim that was born in Indonesia. Once they believe that one big conspiracy could be carried out in perfect secrecy, the floodgates open, and they'll tend to believe in other conspiracies as well. Another reason is confirmation bias, which is the tendency to find confirming evidence for what you already believe and ignore anything that contradicts it.
Once you believe 9/11 was carried out by the government or the JFK conspiracy, you focus on the handful of anomalies and try to connect them into a meaningful pattern, while ignoring the massive evidence pointing to Al-Qaeda or Lee Harvey Oswald respectively. There was a 2012 study done at the University of Kent, which found people who believed the moon landing was a hoax were also more likely to believe Princess Diana was murdered, and that HIV was created in a lab.
They also found that people who believe in conspiracy theories will also believe in other conspiracy theories that contradict them. People who believe that Princess Diana faked her own death are also more likely to believe that she was murdered. People who believe that Osama bin Laden was dead before the raid on his compound are also more likely to believe that he's still alive. Because the internet can be such a cesspool, it's a good place for isolated weirdos to form social networks. Isolated weirdos love conspiracy theories, and they tend to catch on in these tight-knit, isolated networks. These beliefs tend to catch on and spread, and few of us have inside information to random events where there's still a lot of unknowns attached to them. So people do what people do, and start to just kind of make things up out of their own imagination.
If one person believes the government hit a missing plane, others might catch on, and the belief spreads, and you have to read some rant from your creepy racist uncle about it next time you log onto Facebook.
Conspiracy thinking also comes from a feeling of personal powerlessness, and a need to fit the world into a more meaningful shell. Random acts don't just happen. They happen all at the hands of some evil cabal. a new world order. Nothing happens by chance. Everything has a reason. These theories give a depth to a boring life. They paint a picture where there really is black and white, good and evil, where an evil shadow government plots and conspires for its own dubious interests. It also gives the conspiracy theorist a kind of sense of superiority, the wise shepherd in the flock of sheeple. It feels good to have one over on everyone else, to know the real truth. It provides a tangible, simplified enemy in what in reality is a far more abstract, complicated world. There are all these great stories behind everything, and everything has all these crazy meanings. It's a lot of fun for people to think about. This kind of paranoid conspiracy thinking can be damaging. Lots of people think the government and scientists have conspired to hide the adverse effects of vaccines, and so vaccination rates have gone down in correlation. And this is a big problem. People who believe that climate change is a hoax will not support the idea that man-made climate change is a reality. And this in turn bleeds over into politics.
And who wouldn't want to not believe in climate change? I don't want to believe in climate change. That's depressing stuff. I'd love to believe that a secret shadow government is out there, all conspiratorial to blow up buildings and bomb people for oil wars. Are you kidding me? I love stuff like that.
But it's not real. There are real conspiracy theories out there like the Iran-Contra, Watergate, Lincoln's assassination, but that doesn't mean every weirdo conspiracy theory out there is true. We have a history of paranoia in this country that is tattooed right there into the founding documents. We have a culture of paranoia that says to us, screams to us, there is terror. There is terror all around you.